I'm going to discuss on the um, regression modeling, and which is one of the important topic in SPSS. So I hope you will understand the topic. Okay. Now, yes, yesterday or day before yesterday, I told you that when we apply the correlation, and if there is a causation between the variables, then we can go for regression model. Regression models. So one thing which is very clear here, you can apply regression models only when causation is there. When causation is not there, regression model is not, you cannot go for regression model. One thing which is should be clear. Now a regression model, so today I will explain the bivariate regression model first. The regression model can be expressed as the equation y is equal to alpha plus beta into x. So this is the regression model, simple regression model. Here y is known as dependent variable and alpha is known as intercept. So let me write here, y is called a dependent variable. Alpha, we call alpha as intercept, and beta is known as slope coefficient, and x is known as independent variable. Independent variable. Now we will discuss on each. So first of all, we will understand what is this intercept, and then I will explain you what is the meaning of slope coefficient and what is the regression model. So if you see this intercept, if x is equal to 0, if we put x is equal to 0, then what is the value of y? Alpha. So then y becomes alpha, y tends to alpha. So alpha is that value of y. Intercept can be defined as that value of y when x is 0. So this is the definition of intercept. Similarly, the slope coefficient, the beta, we defined as the change in y upon the change in x. So this is also known as dy upon dx, rate of change of y with respect to x. So this is the basic definition of each, and this relationship is known as cause and effect relationship. This relationship is known as cause and effect relationship. So let me explain you in much detail. So for example, we are having this y again equal to alpha plus beta into x, and when x is equal to 0, the value of alpha is the value of y is alpha. For example, if I write the equation that says is equal to alpha plus beta multiplied by advertisement, then what is beta? Beta is that value of sales when advertisement is 0. So beta, or sorry, not beta, alpha is that value of sales when advertisement equal to 0. So this is the definition of alpha actually. So how we plot alpha? So let me show you that. So I hope you now understand how we define the intercept. This is called intercept of a regression equation. Now if I make this line is the line of the regression line, alpha is equal to beta into x. And if I ask you where is alpha in that line, where is alpha? So we have to find out that where x equal to 0, this is x, this is y. So where this x is equal to 0. So you can see where this is the point where x is equal to 0. And if x equal to 0 is here, then what is the value of y? The value of y is this when x equal to 0. So this difference, this distance is known as alpha. So alpha is the intercept. This is the distance from the origin to the point where the line intersect the y-axis is known as alpha. So this and alpha is known as intercept. And we understand what is intercept. What is intercept? The value of y when x becomes 0. So in this way we define the alpha. Now I'm showing you the beta. So how can we represent beta in this line? So beta can be represented by this. Suppose this v changes x by 1. This is the change in x, right? So we change x from this to this point. And suppose this change in x equal to 1 unit. So how much y will change here? So this is the change in y. Represent beta is equal to delta y, delta x when it is equal to 0. When equal to 0. So, sorry, not 0, 1. So when change in x is of 1 unit, whatever be the change in y, this is called slope coefficient. So beta is known as slope coefficient. It will tell you that how much y will change when x will change by 1 unit. So I repeat, how we define the slope coefficient? Slope coefficient can be defined as the change in y when x will change by 1 unit. Okay. Now I hope you understand what is the meaning of alpha and beta. So let me move to the SPSS now, and there I will explain you many different things. So I am going to open the SPSS file and will show you all the regression lines results. Let me open this SPSS. Okay, so this is the regression line. Sorry, this is the SPSS file, and I am going to show you how to apply regression line here. So click on the file. First of all, we want to open the data set, and most of the data set I already shared with you. So let me open one data set of the from the correlation file. No, correlation not file, rather regression file. Okay, so I start with this example. In this case, the dependent, there are two variables, one is income and one is consumption. So first of all, we have to find out which is dependent variable and which is independent variable. Now I am asking to you, apply your common sense and tell me whether consumption is the dependent variable or income is the dependent variable. Which variable we can assume as a dependent variable? Which variable we can, okay. So most of you are saying that consumption is the independent variable. Very good. It means you are listening my lecture carefully. Thank you very much. So now my regression equation will be consumption is equal to alpha plus beta into income. So in consumption depends upon income. So we are going to analyze this regression line, and you can see that in software we can analyze this regression line in much detail. Okay, so let me run this exercise and we'll see the results. Now click on the analyze, regression and linear. So we are going to apply the linear regression line. This is the command, and let's click it. So consumption is my dependent variable, income is my independent variable. So as decided by you, consumption is my dependent variable, income is my independent variable, and now I'm going to run the option. Okay. So here we are getting the results, and we have to analyze this result. So I will take, I will explain value, each value. The first value we are getting is capital R. The first value we are getting is capital R. So what is this capital R? Now I have to find out what is this capital R. So this capital R is known as coefficient of multiple correlation. This coefficient of multiple correlation, and this capital R is the correlation between, so because it is a correlation, so it is a correlation between, so I am writing here correlation between dependent variable, actual value of y, actual value of y, and the predicted value of y. It is now you can see that this is the correlation between actual value of y and the predicted value of y, right? I hope you understand this. And higher this correlation, better it is. Second thing, you should understand that higher the correlation, better it is, right? So we have this kind of relationship between the this R. Now I'm showing you how actually we can calculate this. In this result, the capital R is found to be 0.951, and it is very high. So it means the correlation between actual value of y and the predicted value of y is very high. So this indicates that we are having a very high correlation between the actual value and the predicted value, right? Okay. So let me show you something before that. Clear all the drawings, so I hope you understand it. Go to analyze and regression and linear, and go to this save. You are having this save option, so click on this save option, and we want to save the predicted value of y. You can say it is a predicted value of the dependent variable, and let me continue, and okay. After this we can have the predicted value in the data set. So this is the predicted value and this is the actual value. Sorry, this is actual value, predicted value. So we are having actual value, predicted value, and I want to see the correlation between the actual value of consumption and predicted value of consumption. So the results say that when the income of the family is 80,000, the consumption should be 65,000. But we are having the different consumption of the different families. but we want to see what is the correlation between the actual consumption and the predicted consumption. Now go to analyze and go to correlate, bivariate, and we are having the actual consumption and we are having the predicted consumption. Let's find out the result. Now you can see that the correlation between the actual y and the predicted y is 0.951. So this is the importance of multiple correlation. So we can start with the correlation value, right? Okay, let's move to the second part. Now the second part you can see here is known as R square. So let me explain you the value of R square now. The second concept that we want to learn is R square. Basically, it is the square of R, square of capital R, and this is known as coefficient of determination. This R square is known as coefficient of determination. And this coefficient of determination, which is represented by R square, is how to define this coefficient of determination. It can be defined as the proportion of variance in y which can be explained with the help of variation in x. So now see this definition. The coefficient of determination R square can be defined as the proportion of variance in y which can be explained with the help of variation in x. So this is the bookish language of R square. So I am going to explain how we can explain in easy language. Let's see. Let me clear this. Okay, so I am representing another diagram. This is the variation in y. This is the variation in y. Now this variation, this is the variation in x, right? This Venn diagram is representing the variation in x. Now this common variance, this portion is known as common variance, right? And this portion of y is known as unique variance. Unique variance, right? So we can simply say this is y and this is x. So this portion of y can be explained by the x. This portion of y can be explained with the help of x. So R square is just representing that. So what is R square? R square is representing the proportion of y which can be explained by x. So I hope now you have understand that what is the meaning of R square. R square is that proportion of y which can be explained by the x. Okay, so this is the definition of R square, and there is a very important rule of R square. So this is the important feature of R square that you should understand. Important features of R square. Number one, it explains the explanatory power. This represents the explanatory power of the model. Explanatory power of the model. It lies between 0 and 1. And second, it should be greater than 50%. It is expected that the model you are developing should have the R square more than 50%, but some exceptions are also there. like in finance, R square, we are not getting the R square this high, very high. So there are some exceptions to it. And the third is, if you add one more independent variable xi, R square always increases. So these are some of the properties of R square, and this property I will explain because it is very important property. If you add one more independent variable, the R square always increases, right? So this is the properties of R square. Now here, let me see the value of R square here. The R square is 90.5. So what conclusion we can make? So in this case, my conclusion that 90.5% of the change in Y, change in consumption, because here Y is consumption, can be explained with the help of change in income. So 90% of the consumption can be explained with the help of income. So this is the meaning of the R square. Now I hope you understand what is the value, what is the meaning of R square. And then we are moving to the next part, that is adjusted R square. So the third value is adjusted R square, right? So what is adjusted R square? So let me explain you with the help of whiteboard. Okay, now I'm going to explain you the adjusted R square. Now I told you the last property of R square. We are having a regression model y is equal to alpha plus beta 1 into x1. Suppose I want to add beta 2 into x2. Now this portion I want to add, right? So I'm writing here. So when we add a new independent variable in the regression model, right? So okay, so when we add a new independent variable in the regression model, according to the property, the R square will also increase. But what is the problem? Number one, adjusted R square may also increase. Second, adjusted R square may be constant, may remain constant. And third, the adjusted R square may decreases also. So we are having the three options in this case. Now I'm asking you one thing. So use your common sense to answer. And the question is very simple. We are adding a new independent variable in the model, and R square will always increase. That is not a problem. So if adjusted R square also increases, should we add that variable in the regression model? Should we add the new independent variable in the regression model? So, and what is the answer you are giving? So there are three conditions. Now here in first case, you are saying yes, we should also increase the variable in the regression model. So answer is yes. In second case, the if adjusted R square remains constant, the R square will increase, but adjusted R square remains constant. Should we add that variable in the regression model? In second case, and in third case, the R square will increase, but adjusted R square will decrease. So should we add the new independent variable in the regression model? The answer is no, no. So adjusted R square basically will tell you, the adjusted R square will tell you whether we should add the independent variable in the regression model or not. So in first case, adjusted R square may also increase, adjusted R square may remains constant, and adjusted R square may also decreases. So in this case, we should not add that variable in the regression model, but in this case, we should add the new independent variable in the regression model. So I will also show this example in regression, but meaning should be clear. So tell me one thing. I explained you three concepts: the capital R, the R square, and the adjusted R square. Is it clear? Can I proceed? So have you understood the concept? Can I proceed to the next? Okay. So let me move. But before moving, I'm just showing you one thing, that what is the application of R square, adjusted R square. So I am opening a new file because in this file we are having only two variables. So I want a new file for this. So let me open a new file. Okay, so let me open data. Okay, so in this case, you can see that we are having the dependent variable y, and we are, first of all, I would like to add this x1 in the regression model. So let me try to find out, analyze regression and linear. Y is my dependent variable and x1 is my independent variable. So you can see the result that adjusted R square is 982 and R square is 897. Now I am adding a new independent variable in the regression model. Now I am going to add this x2 and click OK. So here you can see that 90, it becomes 90, right? What is the earlier value? The earlier value is 89. This is 89, 89, and both increases. So it means this model is better than previous model, right? Similarly, let me add one more variable. Now I'm going to add the x3 and we'll check should I keep or not. So in this case, it is increasing to 92. So it means this variable is also important. This variable is also important. This is 927 and previous value was 90. So it increases from 90 to 927, right? It is good. Then I add new variable again. Like suppose I add x4 and check it. Now it is 93, very good. It is also increasing the adjusted R square 92793. Yeah, fine. Let me add one more variable, x5. So in this way we can decide. Now it is 928. Now you can see that the earlier R square was 94.3, and it is 93. And when I add a new variable, it is R square increases, it is 944. but adjusted R square decreases to 928. So in this case, we should, can we keep x5 in the regression or not? So x5 is creating a problem, because after adding it, the adjusted R square will decrease. So we should not keep x5 variable in the regression model. So in this way, we can decide whether we can add a new variable in the regression model or not with the help of adjusted R square. So we can say adjusted R square is the model fitness, and we use this concept of adjusted R square in deciding whether we should keep the variable in the regression model or not. So I hope now you have clarity on the three aspects: R square, adjusted R square, and R. So let's move further, because the next concept is little complicated. Let me apply the regression model first. Consumption income. Okay, so this table I already explained to you, and I hope there is no problem in understanding this table. So we are having the R square, we are having the adjusted R square. So three concept I already explained. Now I'm moving, and this we never reported in the results. So now my next target is to explain you the ANOVA table. So in what is the meaning of this regression sum of square? What is the meaning of residual sum of square and total sum of square? We have to explain this. And so let me explain you this concept. So again, we have to move to the whiteboard to understand the concept. So before going to the new concept, I hope this is clear that when we add a new independent variable in the regression model, R square will also increase, or R square always increases actually. But adjusted R square may also increase, may remains constant, may decrease. So it remains constant, decrease, we should not keep the new variable in the model. However, in first case, we can keep. So the demonstration I already show you. Now I'm telling you one thing, which is very important if you want to understand, that this is the X value, and this is the X axis, and this is the Y axis. Suppose we are having X1, a particular value of X, and with the, when X is X1, so what is the value of corresponding Y? The corresponding Y will come here on the line. All the predicted values come on the straight line always. So this predicted value is reported as Y hat. The predicted values always comes on the regression line, and this predicted values is represented by Y hat. Now, can I say the actual value will always be equal to predicted value? May not be. Suppose my actual value is this. So I represent it by Yi. Right? This is the predicted value and this is the actual value. And the difference between them is known as residual. This is called error term. So this gap is reported as the error term. So this is the difference between actual value of Y and the predicted value of Y. So this is called error term. And if I write it that actual value minus predicted value, and if I calculate for all the values and take their sum, right? So this is the sum of the residual square of all the X values. This term is known as residual sum of square. Residual sum of square. Right. So I explained you this concept. This is known as residual sum of square, and because this is the we can also write here, like sum of the error square is called RSS, and this RSS should be as low as possible. This RSS should be as low as possible, right? We want to reduce this error term. Okay. Now next value which I am telling you, suppose this is the mean of y. This is the mean of y, right? It is a mean of y. Now, this mean of y give me two things. Number one, let me change the color. Yeah. So number one, this, and number two, this value. So I reported with different colors. There is a reason for that. The red value is indicating the total variance. So this is indicating the total variance, and this value is indicating the variance explained by, or this is known as explained variance. Right. Now, how to calculate this? This total variance is nothing. If you can check, this is the actual y minus mean of y square. Similarly, this explained variance is the difference between predicted y minus mean square. So we are having three values here. This is known as, this value is known as MSS, and this value is known as TSS. So we are having three important conclusions from here. So we are having three important conclusions: total sum of square, residual sum of square, and the model sum of square. Right. So now let me show you the these results into the regression model. In this regression model, we are having all the squares. This is total sum of square, this is residual sum of square, and this is the regression sum of square, right? And these sum of squares give the value called F statistic. So now I am going to explain you what is the F statistic, what is the meaning of this. This is very important, and we call it F statistics. So F statistics measures the statistical fitness. Statistical fitness, right? And if this residual sum of square is low, statistical fitness is high. Means if errors are low, the statistical fitness is high, right? Now, a second thing, if F value is greater than 4, then this is the minimum required value 4. The minimum required value of F statistic is 4. Then statistical fitness exists, right? And if P value, which is known as significance value, if significance value is less than 0.05, then we can say the regression model is fit, right? So in this way, we can define this regression model F statistic. So it measures the statistical fitness. If residual sum of square is low, this is residual sum of square is low, statistical fitness is always high, and the minimum value which is expected of F is 4. And if F is statistic more than 4, we can say a statistical fitness is high. And if probability value is less than 0.05, we can say the regression model is fit. So I hope now you understand the meaning of F statistic, and we can move further. Okay, so I hope now it is, are you have clarity on F statistic and the RSS and all? So please tell, so that I can move to the next table, coefficient table. Okay, fine. So let's move to the next point, the coefficient table. Great. So now we are coming to the table number 3. So in table number 3, in coefficient table number 3, we are having the value of the constant, and you can see the value of the here income. So first of all, we should find out these two values. In this case, y is equal to alpha plus beta into x. So here this y is equal to 17. Alpha you can find out, it is 17. And what is the value of beta? Beta is 0.6. And the value of x is I. So this is the regression model we can draw from here. The intercept, this is the alpha term, and this is the beta term. So alpha and beta, we are coming from here. Now what is the meaning of alpha here? Alpha means when income is 0, minimum level of consumption required is 17 rupees. So I said when income is 0, the consumption is rupees 17, right? So this is the meaning of alpha. And what is beta here? Beta is equal to 0.6. It means when income increases by ₹1, consumption increases by 60 paisa. So you can see that when income increases by ₹1, consumption increases by 60 paisa, right? So this is the meaning of beta. So in this way we define the values of alpha and beta here. So I hope there should not be any problem in understanding the value of alpha and beta. Now I'm showing you the meaning of other. Okay, so let me clear it. The next we are having the standardized beta. These are unstandardized beta, and this is the standardized beta. Now what is the meaning of because this table is very important, so let me explain you this. Because the regression line never passes through the origin, right? It always have the alpha value, right? But if we want that this regression line should pass through the origin, it means we want alpha to make 0. We want to make alpha is equal to 0. What to do, right? So now we are applying a new regression model, that z score of y equal to alpha plus z score of x, right? So now we are applying this regression model, z score of y equal to alpha plus z score of x. So when you apply this regression, the alpha becomes automatically 0, and this beta is known as standardized beta. This beta is known as standardized beta, right? So this is the concept of standardized beta. It is the value of the slope coefficient when you apply the regression model between the z score of y and the z score of x, right? So this is the concept actually. And now the regression line comes like this, because here alpha is 0 and we are having the beta. So one thing which you should also know, that standardized beta is nothing, it is a correlation between y and x. So standardized beta is always the correlation between y and x, right? So this is the one of the property of standardized beta. So let me move to the next part. Okay. Now we want to understand the remaining portion of the table, which is called T statistic and the P value. This is very important part of the regression model. Suppose my regression model is this: y is equal to alpha plus beta into x. So here my null hypothesis is that the beta is equal to 0. So this is the null hypothesis that I want to prove. So this is the null hypothesis that beta is equal to 0. So I can also write that there is no impact of x on y. So there is no impact of x on y. There is no impact of x on y. This is the null hypothesis, right? There is no impact of x on y. Now, if we accept the null hypothesis, if we accept it, what happens? That it means a regression model is not good. Regression model is not good, right? So what we require to reject this hypothesis. So for the rejection, we apply a t-test, which is equal to beta minus equal to 0 upon a standard error. So this is the value of t statistic. We can calculate here. You can see, and how to what is the rule of thumb? The rule of thumb is that if t statistics is more than 1.96, right, and the probability value is less than 0.05, in both the cases reject null hypothesis, right? So we want two things in the regression model, that the slope coefficient beta should be greater than 1.96 and probability value should be less than 0.05. So this is the meaning of t statistic and this p value, right? So I hope this part is very important part, because whenever you analyze the regression model, so you have to check what is the p value and what is the t value and what is the different values. So this portion you need to analyze very carefully, because this probability value should be less than 0.05. This t statistic should be greater than 1.96. So then you can say now income is having significant effect on the consumption. Income is having significant effect on the consumption, right? So this is the meaning of t statistic and significance value. So up to this level, I hope I have covered each and everything. The whatever I explained you, whatever comes in the results, so everything is fine coming. Now tell me any problem if you have up to this level, because after this level I have to go to multiple regression model. Okay. Any problem? I hope there is no problem. Now we are moving to the multiple regression model. Okay, so let's move to the multiple regression model. Now, multiple regression model can be explained by alpha plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3 and so on. Now we assume the null hypothesis that beta 1 is equal to 0, then beta 2 is equal to 0, beta 3 is equal to 0, right? So we are having so many null hypotheses here. and we have to decide which variable is having impact on y, which variable is not having the impact on y, right? Number two, this is number one. Number two, alpha is the value of y when x1 equal to x2 equal to x3 equal to 0. So alpha is that value of y when all the independent variables are 0. Number three, beta is now beta I is known as partial slope coefficient. Partial slope coefficient, right? Partial slope coefficient means it is the, suppose it is the delta y upon delta x1 when keeping x2 and x3 constant. So for x1, x2 and x3 are acting as a control variable, right? For x2, x1 these are the different changes in the value of beta, the value of alpha and all. I am just showing you one of the example. So there we can analyze that what are the different problems and what are the new things which are there in the model. So let me clear this and move back to the SPSS file. Okay, now I'm showing you the multiple regression model because for bivariate I already explained. Okay, so in this file, let me delete the values because these values are not required here. Okay, so I have a dependent variable y and independent variables. We are having independent variables and independent variables. I am taking the decimal 1 because more decimals are not required here. So now you can see that this is the dependent variable y and we are having 6 independent variables. And if I run the regression model, multiple regression model, so the command is analyze, regression and linear, and the dependent variable is y and all the variables are independent. So I am taking to the independent and I'm running OK. So here R is 64%, R square is 41%, adjusted R square is 41, and the F statistic is found to be 47, and P value is significant. And we are having these are the beta, unstandardized beta, and these are the standardized beta, and we are having some probability values. Now from this result, I am asking you something to just find out whether you can answer it or not. Okay, so my first question is that which variable is significant, have a significant effect on y, and which variable is not having significant effect on y? Which variable is influencing y significantly and which variable is not influencing y significantly? So just see and give me the answer. So life style is having a significant effect. Leadership is also having a significant effect. Optimistic is also having a significant effect. Can we say family is having a significant effect? And the financial is having a significant effect? No. So we can see that we can see that the family is not having a significant effect on y, and financial is also not having a significant on y. So if I remove the family, what do you think? What is the change comes in R square and adjusted R square? So I am asking you, so just I'm asking you, if I remove family, what changes comes in R square and adjusted R square? In R square, I am very confident that R square will decrease, adjusted R square will decrease, right? R square will decrease, but adjusted R square, because if it is not a significant variable, if family is not a significant variable, right, the adjusted R square, this adjusted R square may either constant or it may increase. Basically, if you remove some unwanted variables in the model fitness should improve. This is the logic, right? So let me show you the result. Now I'm going to remove the family. So my answer is 419, 410. 419, 410. So let me make the change. I am removing the family. Okay. Now you can see that the R square decreases from 0.419 to 418. You can see that the R square decreases 419. So here it is 419, and in second case it is 418. But adjusted R square remains constant, 418, 410, and here is also 410. 410. It means there is no effect of the family in the model. So better it should be removed, right? So if it is removed, then there is no loss of adjusted R square. It means the family is not an important variable in the model. Second is financial. Financial. Now I can see all the four variables are significant, but this financial variable is found to be insignificant. So let me reduce this, remove this also. Financial. And now let's see the impact on. So even you can see that there is no loss of the adjusted R square. Adjusted R square is still the same. It means even after removing the bad variable, there is no loss. After removing the financial, there is no loss of the model. So now this in this model, in the remaining model, my all of the independent variables are significant. My all of the independent variables are significant. So I'm happy that my model is finalized, and this is my final model where all the independent variables are significant, and this is the highest adjusted R square I can have with all the independent variables. This is the maximum adjusted R square I can have in the available variables. So this is the concept of T statistic and adjusted R square. Now I think I am asking one more thing to you. How can I decide that which variable is having the highest impact on Y and which variable is having the lowest impact on Y? All the impact are found to be significant. That is fine. Now I want to find out that which variable is significant and which variable is insignificant. Can you have any idea that how can we decide that which variable is significant and which variable is not significant? Okay, which variable is having the highest impact and which variable is having the lowest impact? Which variable is having the lowest impact and which variable is having the highest impact? So you say that lifestyle is having the highest impact. No, the answer is that okay. Now I'm showing you very important concept. All right. Suppose this is a okay. Suppose this is a building, a huge building, and these are the different balconies. And these are the different balconies, and you are standing here, and there are different persons standing on the balconies, right? There are the different persons standing in the balcony, and you can see all of them clearly. Can you tell me which the height of which person is the highest and height of which person is the lowest, right? Can you tell me, if you are standing in front of a tall building and in the balcony different people are standing, can you tell me which variable is having the highest height, more height, which variable is having the no less height? So basically it is answer is no, because if you want to compare all the persons, you have to bring to the same level, right? After that, if you bring all the people at the same level, you can say which is high, which is low. So now what is this concept? Actually, in regression, when we apply the regression on the original variables, we cannot say which is high, which is low. But when we see the standardized coefficient, standardized beta, so the concept is higher the standardized beta, higher the standardized beta, higher the impact, higher the impact on y. So if we arrange the according to the standardized beta, so innovative is having the highest impact, and this is followed by the lifestyle, and this is followed by the leadership, and this is followed by the optimistic. Mistake. And the highest impact, the impact is 475, then this is 307, then this is 294, and this is 098. So we can arrange them in descending order uh, in with respect to their impact on the dependent variable. So that's why this standardized beta is also very important in the regression model. It will tell you that where the impact is highest and where the impact is lowest. Okay, now let's move to the next part. Okay, so one thing which I'm writing again, because there are many students who ask me what is the use of unstandardized beta and what is the use of standardized beta. So if I want to write the equation, I can write the equation like y is equal to alpha plus 5.023. So unstandardized beta is used to write the equation 0.794 into lifestyle, 0.76 into leadership, plus 0.253 multiplied by optimistic, plus 1.229 multiplied by innovativeness, right? So this regression line can be written only on the basis of the unstandardized coefficient, and standardized coefficient only tell you where the impact is highest and where the impact is lowest. So I can say unstandardized beta is used for prediction of y. However, this beta, standardized beta, is used for comparison. So this is the basic difference between unstandardized beta and standardized beta. Unstandardized beta is used for the prediction and standardized beta is used for the comparison. So this is the basic difference between the unstandardized beta and the standardized beta. So let me move to the next part. Okay. So now I have explained you almost every concept in the uh, simple regression and the multiple regression. Now the next part which we are going to discuss are the problems and assumptions of the regression model. So for that we have to move to the again whiteboard. So what is the assumptions of the regression model? So where there are many assumptions, the first assumption, actually we call this assumption, so let me explain, the linearity. Second, error residuals. Then third is exogeneity versus endogeneity. And fourth is multicollinearity. Multicollinearity. Five is autocorrelation. And six is heteroscedasticity. And seventh is specification. And eighth, so we are having these assumptions, outliers, maybe outliers. So samples, 9 is sample size, and 10th is what is remaining, multicollinearity, autocorrelation, exogeneity, residuals. Okay, then Y and X. Okay, so these are the 10 important properties or assumptions of the regression model, which we are going to cover in the coming session. First of all, I will explain you linearity, then residuals. So one by one, I will explain, and so let me explain you the concept of these. Number one, linearity. So linearity means if we write the equation y is equal to alpha plus beta x plus beta 2 x2, right? So you can observe here the power of alpha is 1. The power of beta is also 1. The power of beta 2 is also 1. So when the power of regression coefficients is 1, this is known as linearity. This is known as linearity. So you have seen many equations where we put under root of y equal to alpha plus beta into x square plus beta 2 into under root of x2, right? So in this case, can we say this model is a linear model? The answer is yes, this model is a linear model because the alpha, beta and beta 2 have the power of 1, right? You can have the different power of y, x2, x4, that is not a problem, but the power of regression coefficient should be 1 always. The power of regression coefficient should be 1 always. This property is known as linearity, right? Okay, so I just repeat linearity. If I write y cube is equal to under root of alpha plus beta square, beta 1 square into x2 plus beta cube into x3, can I say this regression model is linear? No, this regression model is not linear because power of alpha is 1 upon 2, power of beta 1 is square, power of beta 2 is cube. So this model is not linear. This model is not linear. Okay, now actually I hope you understand what is the linear. Now linearity is of two types: linearity of the parameters and linearity of the variables. There are two types of linearity: parameters and variables. Like for example, when we say parameters, it means we should write the equation like alpha plus beta 1 x square plus beta 2 x cube. So here the power of regression coefficient is 1. So this is called linearity in the parameter, right? So if I write here y is equal to alpha square plus beta 1 under root x1 plus beta cube x2. So here the power of variables is 1. So this is also known as linearity in the variables. Here coefficients are non-linear, but variables are linear. So in regression model, this assumption is not required. This assumption is not required. We want the fulfillment of this assumption. Means your x, y variable maybe have different powers, but the power of alpha, beta, and beta, alpha, beta 1, beta 2 should be 1. So this is the requirement, and this requirement is known as linearity of the parameters. So first assumption of the regression model is that all the y and alpha, all the regression coefficient should have the power of 1. So this property is the first property of the regression model. Now I am telling you the second property. The second property is about the residuals. So if I write the equation like alpha plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus error term, right? You know that this is the error term. This error term is actually the difference between y minus alpha plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 equal to error, right? So this is called actual y and this is called predicted y, error. Now the requirement is that the predicted value of y should be closer to the actual y, so that this error term should be low as much as possible, right? So how to decide whether this error term is the lowest or not? How to decide whether this error term is free from the problem? So we are having one assumption. So I am showing you that assumption also. Let me write the assumptions. The assumption is that the y, not y, or we can write y minus y bar, y hat, which is nothing, it is the error term. This error term must have some properties. Number one, it should be normally distributed. The error term should be normally distributed. Number two, the mean of the error term should be equal to 0. The standard deviation of the error term should be constant. Right? So, and it should have no information. So these are the properties of the error term that should be fulfilled by the regression model. The error term should be normally distributed. The mean of the error term should be 0. The variance of the standard deviation error term should be constant, and this error term should not have any information lying in it. And one thing more, if you take the sum of the error term and under root divided by n, right? This value is known as root square Rm, root mean square of the error term. R means square root, m means mean, the sum of it upon n, S means the square like this is the square. E is the error term. Should be minimum, right? So this is these are the properties of residuals, and whenever you run the regression model, you have to check all the assumptions whether it is true or not, whether the error term is normally distributed or not, whether the mean of it is 0 or not, whether the standard deviation is constant or not. So all the assumptions should be fulfilled. The third assumption which I am going to discuss today, one is third, exogeneity and endogeneity. Exogeneity and endogeneity. Now, if I write the regression model like this, alpha plus beta 1 into x1 plus beta 2 into x2, so plus error term. So there are two conditions, number one, number two. Number one, the correlation between the error term and xi should be 0, and the correlation between error term and y should be 0. So this property is known as exogeneity, and this property is known as endogeneity, right? So if you can see, all the independent variables should not be correlated to the error term, and this error term should not be correlated with the dependent variable, right? So this is the property of exogeneity and endogeneity, and which is very important term in panel data regression model, in time series regression model, and times and structural equation modeling. So we are having different type of endogeneity. This is just one example. And exogeneity means there should not be any correlation between the error term and the x values. And related to this problem, we are having one more assumption, that is called a specification error. Specification. So if we are going to explain the y, we should incorporate all independent variables in the model, right? The assumption is that we should incorporate all independent variables in the model. There should not no important variable should left in the model. No important variable should left in the model. Otherwise its impact go on the error term. So otherwise, if you miss any important variable in the regression model, its impact will go to error term, right? So this problem should not be there in the regression model. So you should not leave any important variable in the regression model. So I think this is the enough for today, and tomorrow I will continue with this. And now I am open to the queries, and I understand that the statistic is complicated topic. Some of you may not may feel that it is a heavy content, but well, so if you want to ask any query, you are most welcome. Because I know that regression is not a very easy thing to understand. You must have some queries in your mind, and you can ask your queries now. And I already have a 4 or 5 hours video on regression in YouTube. Kindly see this if you want to get more clarity. You can unmute yourself and can ask.
Participants can unmute themselves. So kindly ask question directly.
You can unmute you and can ask.
I think there are no queries from the participants. So they are, so someone asks for, sir, some practice, some exercise on non-linear regression also.
Yeah. So basically, there are two types of regression models. One is linear regression model, and second is non-linear regression models. So we are having maximum likelihood estimation as a non-linear model, and OLS we assume it is a linear model. So OLS model is assumed to be linear model, and maximum likelihood estimation method is a non-linear model. But non-linear model we apply only in special circumstances. Most of the time we only apply the linear models. OLS model is always a linear model, and okay.
So
And I suggest you one thing, because regression is a topic. So kindly see that video that I posted in the YouTube. That is a very famous video, and people have a very good feedback on that. If you have time, just spend on that video. That is the name of the video is multiple regression model, and I posted in the YouTube.
Sir, hello, sir.
Yeah, Deepika.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, in one of my research paper, I have found the t value as 3.104.
P value.
T value 3.104.
It is a significant value.
P value is 0.002.
Significant.
But R value is very low, 0.24, and R square value is 0.06. How can I interpret it, sir?
Okay, actually, I think you are applying on the financial data.
Hello, sir.
It means you are applying your regression on the financial data.
Yes, sir. It is. Yeah, my dependent variable is household income.
Household income, okay. And independent variable is?
It is number of unorganized women workers.
Okay, so R square is less. R square is slightly less, and I really want to check. And what is the sample size?
Samples are 240.
240. Then
Yeah.
R square is quite less.
Quite less.
I can tell you that this R square can be increased very easily. That is not a problem. Do you have your data with you yourself?
Not now, sir. It is a old one.
Okay. So tomorrow I will tell you one method where we can increase the value of R square. Actually, the R square value is coming less. Why? Because you are having only one variable in the independent as an independent variable. If you increase number of variables, your R square may improve.
Okay, sir.
But normally we want R square to be very high, because R square of 3%, 4% is very low.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is happening only in case of financial time series. When we are dealing with the financial data and the time series data, in that case, variable is found to be significant, but R square is very low.
Okay, so that means I have to. That means I have to increase the sample size now.
No, you have to increase the number of variables.
Number of variables. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
one question is there, sir. How can we use SPSS for nonlinear regression analysis?
No, actually, there are some model like logistic regression model. So in all these models, we are applying the non-linear regression model. Otherwise, OLS is always linear. So in some regression model, we have to apply maximum likelihood estimation method, which is the example of non-linear. So if you apply regression, this max logistic regression model, it is non-linear. But most of the regression models are linear itself.
Okay, sir. So these are queries, I think.
Okay, no
Okay,
problem.
sir. Thank you, sir, for your
So
insightful lecture today. So thank you all the participants for your patience and interaction. Hope we will see you again tomorrow morning, and tomorrow will be the last day of this workshop. So hope everyone should join the session. And thank you, sir, once again from your side. Okay,
okay,
sir.
thanks.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Kindly fill up the attendance sheet. One request from our side, kindly fill up the attendance sheet. Thank you.